What's up, y'all? It's your boy Nate Schmidt. This year of 2020 has been absolutely nuts. I don't think I need to tell you, you already know. It's been a freaking crazy year, but somehow, despite coronavirus and everything that's happened this year, we still managed to start and bring a brand from zero to over $1 million in sales over the course of the last 11 months or so. In this video, I want to break down for you exactly how we did it from the first day that we started the brand earlier this year in January, all the way to a few days ago when we crossed over the 1 million in revenue mark. I want to show you the big things that happened, the big actions we took, and ultimately give you a really solid idea of what it takes to start a brand from scratch and bring it to 7 figures in 1 year. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one. So grab some popcorn, some tea, some caffeine, some whatever. Let's get into it. It all started in January of 2020. Believe it or not, I actually did not have a direct part in starting the store from scratch. It was my partner Scotty who started the store, but we ended up teaming up and forming a partnership a few months into the year. So now it's our brand. Scotty was the one that started it, but I'm just going to talk through this as if we did it together just so it doesn't get too confusing. The way it happened is we had been eyeing a very particular niche for a while, but we hadn't really taken any action on it yet. We knew it was a good one, and we had 3 products picked out that we might want to sell. We ended up scrapping the first 2. The first one because there was just not a lot of available content for us to use in our ads and on our product page. And the second one, due to actually it was liability risk. Apparently there were multiple lawsuits in progress against brands that were selling this exact same product. The third product though, didn't really have any of these issues. It seemed to be a winner. Nobody was selling it with Facebook ads at the time, but there was a lot of evidence of demand. There was a lot of people selling it on Amazon. We found that there was a lot of people who needed this product through research on forums and things like that. So we found a really great listing on AliExpress that had really solid content. And instead of doing the typical like compare at price, $99 marked down to $49 or whatever, instead the offer that we made was for a 3-pack. We put up a 1-pack for $29.95 and then a 3-pack for $39.95. It was only $10 more expensive to get 2 more of the exact same thing. So I think customers really saw that as a really great value. So we built out the store on Shopify, we made our ads and then got them loaded up into Facebook. Facebook ads is pretty much how we've done all of the sales on this brand. It started off slow and there were a lot of issues with Facebook at the beginning. We got ads up, but then the account got banned, or there was something where the URL, it was really weird. The URL got blacklisted or something. After a few days though, we were able to get that figured out. And then day 4 was the first day that ads actually spent their entire budget. We spent $60 on ads and the return on ad spend was honestly insane. It was over a 4, almost a 5. We spent $60 to make $280 in sales. That was a super strong start, and it really just kept going from there. For the first 2 weeks or so, we were fulfilling through AliExpress like you normally would when you're dropshipping. But after 2 weeks of really solid results and honestly really solid consistency, we decided it was time to graduate from AliExpress to using a sourcing agent. We got all that set up, and then all in the first month, January 2020, this brand did about $10,000 in sales. That was a mix of really solid days with like 20+% net margins and really not so solid days that really brought the overall down. Overall though, month 1 had about 10% net margins. February, though, was pretty rough. There was this thing that happened, you might remember it. It was called coronavirus. Coronavirus hit China before it hit anywhere else. This was actually in late January. China got locked down right before the Chinese New Year, where everyone in China takes almost a week off of work anyway. China ended up being shut down for like 2 to 3 weeks, if I remember correctly. What that translated to was honestly like just a huge clusterfuck. Our agent had issues securing product. Not only could he not actually get the product, but he definitely couldn't ship it out. So we had to put the store on pre-order for a week or 2. That really hurt our ad results. People like to get their product like now. They don't really want to wait for it. When all was said and done in February, we did about $8,000 in revenue, bringing the total revenue so far for this brand up to about $17,000. The big thing that we did in February though, and this was as a direct result of everything that happened with the coronavirus in China, we started working to, instead of using a fulfillment agent in China, to instead place bulk orders in China and then ship those to the US and then have US fulfillment so that we didn't have to deal with any of the issues that China was having with their lockdowns. In March, our ad results stabilized by a lot, whereas for the first 2 months, it was kind of up and down. Some days were profitable, some days were not. In March, about 3/4 of the days started to be profitable. We also were able to place a bulk order with one of the sourcing agents that we were working with at the beginning of the month. That then arrived in the US at our fulfillment center a few weeks later. And in mid-March, we were able to start shipping our orders from the US with about 3 to 7 day shipping times. At that point, we had the logistics, fast enough shipping times, and we were able to provide a decent enough customer experience to finally feel comfortable with scaling past about $150 a day in ad spend on Facebook. We started scaling a little bit, and then in March, as you might remember, coronavirus actually hit the US. Luckily though, we had the foresight to be able to get all of our product from China into the US before that happened. That was honestly absolutely huge. In March, we were able to scale up a little bit to do a total of about $15,000 in revenue. That brings the total revenue for this brand so far to $32,000. April then was pretty steady from the previous month. Not a whole lot changed. We kept the ad spend roughly about the same as it was before. We ended up doing about $15,500 in revenue in April, but the big thing that happened in April was what I mentioned earlier. Me and my partner Scotty, who were partners on a different business, were now partners in the ecom business. He brought this brand, I brought a brand that I was running. We all put it under one roof. And the key part was we hired an in-house marketing guy full time. At that point, we had our little team. It was me and Scotty, and then we had our marketing guy, and then we also had a few VAs as well. Total revenue through April 2020, about $47,000. After we formed our team in April, May is the first month that we had it all running pretty smoothly, and that is really when things started going well. In May, we were able to almost triple our monthly revenue from the previous month, and the reason for that was mainly because since we hired a full-time marketing guy, he was able to focus on almost nothing else but making new ads. In just the month of May, we tested more ads than we had in the entire 4 months prior, and because of that, we were able to find a lot of winning ads. That allowed us to really be able to start scaling, and in May 2020, we did about $43,000 in revenue, bringing the total revenue for this brand through May to $91,000. Then results dipped. June was a pretty tough month. Ad results were super inconsistent. It would be a 3 to a 4 ROAS one day and then a 1 or a 2 ROAS the next day. A big part of this was because at this point we were struggling to keep our main best sellers in stock. We kept running out of inventory, and because of that, we had to put some of our top selling variants on pre-order. That made our ads super inconsistent, so we ended up having to scale down. One other notable thing that happened in June is the first month that we started charging for shipping. Up until this point, we'd just been doing free shipping, but at this point, we were shipping from the US with 3 to 7 day shipping times. It's pretty fast, so we started charging about $3 to $4 for shipping. In June, our monthly revenue shrank a little bit. We did about $33,000 in revenue, but we did hit the 100K in total revenue mark, which is pretty cool, bringing our total revenue for this brand up to this point to $124,000. Naturally, in July, we had more issues. This time it was with Facebook ad bans. Our ad account got disabled for a few days early in the month, but luckily it didn't last that long. After a few days, we were able to get it back. Once we got the account back and we turned our ads back on, the results were just like nothing I'd ever seen before. Almost everything we launched was not only profitable, but like really, really profitable. And in July 2020, we were able to double our daily ad spend while still hitting ROAS numbers that were higher than anything we'd even seen. A big reason for this, there's actually kind of two main factors. The first one was that big Facebook boycott that happened earlier this year. A bunch of big companies got their virtue signaling pants on and said, we're not going to spend any more money on Facebook because Facebook's not doing this, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of big companies pulled their ad spend. They weren't spending money on ads, which made ad costs go down. And then the other big part was lockdowns. With things locked down, this was kind of in the heat of things when almost everything in the States was locked down. Since people couldn't buy stuff in the stores, they were forced to buy things online. Ad costs were lower than ever. Demand was higher than ever. It was a pretty good recipe. At this point, we had no more occasional unprofitable days. At this point, literally every single day is profitable. In July, we did a total of about $77,000 in revenue, which brings our year-to-date total up to this point to a little bit over $200,000 at $202,000. August was when things really, really started to hit. In July, we had pretty much doubled our monthly revenue, and going into August, we still had a lot of that momentum. We also had two insanely crazy weeks in August where every single day we were hitting a consistent 5, 6, or even 7 ROAS. It was so nuts that the overall ROAS for the entire month was over 5. That might not mean anything to you depending on how much experience you have with ecom, but that's just like absolutely nuts. Now, here's a little secret for you. The main reason I think our ad results were so good in August was because of one simple thing that we did. At the beginning of the month, we implemented a post-purchase email flow with Klaviyo that solicited photo reviews from our customers. That ended up being really successful. We got a bunch of photos from our customers of them wearing the product, using the product, and they were all really great. This is something that in ecom speak we call UGC, user-generated content. It's very authentic and oftentimes in ads performs really well, and that was exactly the case here. Once we started using UGC in our ads, our results absolutely skyrocketed. Another huge step that we took in August was we hired another full-time person on the team. This time, he was our in-house sourcing guy. He was from China, he spoke Chinese, and he allowed us to contact and negotiate with the Chinese factories directly instead of having to go through a sourcing agent. That immediately cut our cost of goods by about 30%, which significantly improved our profit margins. Now, side note, a little plug, because this works so well for us, this is actually a service that we have started offering for some clients. If you're someone who's got an established ecom business and maybe you're drop shipping or you're using a sourcing agent or something like that, and you want to place a bulk order, we might be able to work with you to get your cost of goods down pretty significantly. If you're interested in seeing if we can source product for you, if you can work with our team, our in-house team to source product, I've got a Skype account on screen. This is my partner Scotty's Skype account. You can message him there. Message him with the word sourcing. This is probably not for you if you're just starting out, but if you have an established store or an established brand and you want to see if working with us might be beneficial to you, then hit Scotty up on Skype. Message him, say sourcing. He'll get some info from you. We'll get you a quote to see how much it would cost. And if it makes sense, maybe we can work together. Now, the only other notable things that we did in August, the first one's pretty normal. The second one's honestly hilarious. The first thing we did was we added Afterpay as a payment option on our store. So instead of paying for the entire cost of their order up front, they could split it up into like 3 or 4 payments, I think it is. That improved results a little bit. And then the hilarious thing we did was, I didn't even know this was possible, but in Shopify, in the checkout, you can give your customers an option to add a tip. I'm not really sure what they're tipping you for because it's not like you're really providing them a service, but some people like to leave a tip. You give them the option, they leave you a tip. It's a little bit of extra free money. Personally, I think it's hilarious, but we get a little bit from that every day, so all in, August was by far our best month up to this point. We did $153,000 in revenue. That brings the total revenue of this brand so far to $354,000. Of course, though, all good things must come to an end. In September, we ran into some issues. In September, our ROAS dropped by about 15% or so. Not like crazy, but we were not seeing any of these huge 7 ROAS days anymore. The other thing that happened was our Facebook feedback score dropped. If you don't know what the Facebook feedback score is, it's basically a survey that Facebook sends out to your customers asking them if they enjoyed their experience with you, and then it rates you on a scale of like, I think it's 0 to 5. If enough people give you negative feedback, then your score drops, and if it goes below a certain point, then Facebook will not let you advertise. So that score is really important, and keeping it high is really important. For some reason in September, ours dipped to about a 2.5, whereas before it was like a 3.5 or a 4. So that actually happened like towards the end of August, but in September was when we started implementing things to actually improve that. What we did here was we started including thank you cards with each order. And then kind of a strange thing we did was we started a Facebook ad campaign. It was a reach campaign, only targeting people who have purchased from us in the last 5 days. And it was just a video that was kind of like a video from the face of the company, just thanking them for their order. That ended up working out really well, and our feedback score did end up going up. Besides that, we also really doubled down on customer service in September. We didn't really find a whole lot of issues. I think our customer support team was taking pretty good care of our customers, but we really doubled down on that to make sure that every single customer was getting taken care of. All those measures combined ended up working, and our feedback score went up to somewhere around a 4, I think, maybe closer to a 5. I'm not really exactly sure what it is, but it's been good. It stayed there, and our customers, well, they're happy. Besides that, in September, we also did some kind of administrative stuff. Up to this point, believe it or not, we had not had a logo for this brand at all. So we contracted a, professional designer to make us a professional looking logo. And we also started the process of securing a trademark for the brand name and the brand logo. Even with those issues of our ROAS dropping a little bit and the Facebook feedback score thing, we still were able to scale up our ad spend, so our revenue stayed pretty consistent from the previous month. In September, we did about $150,000 in revenue, which brings our year-to-date revenue up to this point to a little bit over $500,000 at $504,000. October was a pretty interesting month. We were slowly scaling, but we had one of the most weird and fucked up situations you could think of with Facebook. We had this thing where literally everyone who was attached to this business manager that we were running this brand from, all of their personal advertising access got restricted. Ads were still running, but none of us could really do anything with them except for just turn ads off. That lasted for I want to say 2 or 3 weeks. Luckily, our ad guy found some sort of a secret loophole, I guess. With our advertising access restricted, we couldn't launch new ads, but he found a way. If an ad set was running in the past and it had at least one purchase, he found a way to be able to turn those ad sets back on. It was far from ideal because a big part of our strategy with this brand was testing new ads on an almost daily basis. But of course, it was definitely better than nothing. Then naturally, we had more problems, whereas before, just our account advertising access was restricted. At the end of this month, our entire business manager got banned. And then because of that, we had our first unprofitable day in a really long time. Leading up to that, we had 110 straight days of being profitable. But then since the business manager got banned, our ads got shut off and we were just processing refunds and not really getting a whole lot of traffic. That led to some unprofitable days. Still though, this is kind of crazy to me that even despite all these issues with Facebook, we were still able to scale up a little bit. And in October, we did about $190,000 in revenue. That brings the year-to-date total to $695,000 in revenue. And then the only other thing that's probably worth noting for this month is we also got custom mailing bags made with our new logo on them. And we started shipping out every order in these nice looking custom mailing bags, which, I think was a good move. It's pretty cheap, it's pretty inexpensive, but I think it improves the customer experience a decent amount. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is during this period from about August to October, we were constantly trying to manage inventory so that we didn't run out. We kept running out of some of our top selling variants because this was honestly a pretty new process for us, having to order inventory at scale. And because what we're selling is clothing, it has a lot of different sizes and colors and stuff like that. So we were really trying super hard here to avoid having to go on pre-order, because if we have to go on pre-order, then that really hurts our ad results. We did, for the most part, manage to keep up with demand and keep things in stock, but there were times where that did not happen. That was overall a huge challenge that we faced this year, and it was very rewarding, and we've kind of figured it out, but I wanted to mention that because that's a pretty big part of running a brand with inventory. Now, November 2020, after all the bullshit that we went through with Facebook ad bans and account restrictions and things like that, in November, things started looking up. We got our business manager unbanned, we got all of the personal advertising access restrictions lifted, and we were finally able to start scaling again. In November, we scaled pretty aggressively because we were trying to scale up as high as we possibly could leading into Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. The thing was though, in November, ad costs started going up by a lot, as they normally do leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So November was pretty good. Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend was, I would say, just okay. It was all right. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. Over that long Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, we did about $20,000 in sales each day. The profit margin was not great over this weekend because ad costs were just so high, but we still kept on with it and we tried to scale as much as we possibly could because our entire goal with Black Friday, Cyber Monday wasn't really to have a huge Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It was more so to have a really solid Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then more importantly, maintain a high level of scale after that, from the end of Cyber Monday and then through the month of December. If we could do that, then we figured we could do really, really, really big numbers in December, and that was kind of our goal. In November 2020, we had by far our biggest month yet at $246,000 in revenue. We almost hit that $1 million mark in November, but not quite. At this point, the year-to-date sales are $940,000. In December 2020, this month that I'm posting this video, we ended up having to scale down pretty hard post Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Our ad results dipped super, super hard. And honestly, we're still diagnosing and trying to fix this problem right now, but we have not been able to maintain that level of scale that we wanted to. It's not all bad news though. Shit like this happens. The good news is we did finally hit that $1 million in revenue mark, and that's minus refunds, on December the 10th, 2020. We expect our total profit for the year to be about $200,000, and that's after paying everyone on the team, after expenses and everything like that. So about 20% net profit margins, which is not great, but it's not terrible either. That right there, folks, though, is the entire story from beginning to finish of how we started a brand from scratch and scaled it to 7 figures in 2020, even despite coronavirus and all the craziness. That is how it happened. Now, moving forward, I think this might be kind of interesting to see what we're actually planning to do with this brand going forward. There's a few things in the pipeline. Right now, we're currently in the process of significantly reducing our cost of goods even further by shipping all of our bulk orders by sea instead of by air. This is kind of a trade-off because it means that we have to order inventory a lot more in advance. And in order to be able to switch everything over to sea shipping, we're not going to be able to operate at the scale that we want to in the short term. But in the long term, I think it's going to be a great long-term move. Anything that we can do to reduce our expenses is a huge win to me. And then moving forward in 2021, there's 2 new sales channels that we're really trying to hit hard. Obviously, everything that we've done with this brand up to this point has been done with Facebook ads, but we don't want to be solely reliant on Facebook ads in the long term. So what we're doing is we're getting this brand listed on Amazon. I think that could be absolutely huge because we really have such a great offer. And then the second big thing we're doing, the second big sales channel, is basically just organic sales through Google. We're working on some SEO stuff, working to get our brand ranked on the top couple pages of Google or so for a lot of the key search terms for our brand. That is pretty much where we're at right now. We're also messing around testing different offers to try to improve our overall gross margin. The 3 for $39.95 deal that we've been running since we started the store converts like absolute crazy, but the downside of that is the margins on it for us are not that great. So we're trying to see if we can make an offer that's still really good, but also allows us a little bit better profit margins. Our goal for next year in 2021 is honestly really simple. It's just to see year-over-year growth. We'll end up doing a little bit over $1 million in sales this year. If next year we can do a little bit over $2 million in sales, to me, that's a win. Most people want to scale things super fast and are very impatient, but what I've learned is year-over-year growth, month-over-month growth over the long term is extremely impactful. And I think over the course of a few years, focusing on that instead of just short-term profits, you probably end up making more money that way anyway. Of course, though, our main huge goal with this brand is ultimately to sell it and exit out of it. Maybe that'll happen in late 2021, maybe 2022, but this is pretty cool. I wanted to show you guys this before you go. The website Empire Flippers has this really cool tool that allows you to kind of estimate the value of your brand or your store. We input the numbers for the entire lifetime of the store, which is basically just from the beginning of this year. Based off of those metrics, the brand seems to be worth about $600,000. And then if we only use the last 5 months, which is really when things have taken off, then the brand is allegedly valued at about $1.4 million. Keep in mind, this is a valuation calculator from a website broker. They probably overestimated a bit because they want you to sell your brand using their website. Not to mention when we do actually sell, we're probably gonna have to pay some sort of brokerage fees as well. But we estimate that if we sold the site today, we could probably get somewhere between 600K and $1 million for it after all the fees and everything. I think that's pretty solid. Obviously, you always want these numbers to be higher, but considering everything that happened this year, I'm pretty damn satisfied with what we've been able to do with this brand. We really focused on building this brand slowly and sustainably and not trying to just make as much short-term profit as possible. The foundation is super strong, and all things considered, I'm pretty happy with where we're at with this brand right now. I know you guys probably wanted to see the product and the market that this brand is in. I'm not really comfortable with sharing that yet. I just don't really think it's a good idea. But be on the lookout because once we do sell this brand, I will absolutely make a video breaking down literally everything. Anyways, though, guys, that is the story of how we built a brand from scratch, from zero to $1 million in sales in this crazy year of 2020. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and like and comment and subscribe. Grandma says it's for you. Yeah, no, my grandma says to like and comment and subscribe. So you should probably do it. She's kind of mean. I'm just kidding. Grandma, if you see this, you're not mean. You're one of the nicest ladies I've ever met. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.